You've got a beautiful piece of artwork here. Worked hard on this little Mr. Buggy, and you haven't saved him yet. Let's talk about the first and most obvious way to save a document, and that is as an Adobe Illustrator document. There are some options. I've already saved this one once, so I'm going to say Save As from the File menu, and that'll give us the same options. Give it a good name. Mac or Windows, it looks about the same here. Give it a good name and put it somewhere where you're going to remember. We live in a world today with gigabytes and hard drives and RAIDs and everything else. I've got 12 hard drives hooked up to my computer. If I don't remember where I put this thing, and if I might forget what I named it, I may never find it again. So you want to be careful there. We're saving it as an AI. I'm going to click Save. It's going to ask me to replace it. I'm going to say yes, and you'll get the same options, and here they are. Let's start with version. Illustrator CS5 is where we are. That's what it's saying, and that's probably what you're going to use. However, you do have earlier versions. They're called legacy formats. You say, whoa, man. Illustrator 3? I have worked with clients that are using very early versions, and before Flash became an Adobe family application, I would recommend to my clients or to my other designers that if we're going into Flash, we need to save these as Illustrator 8. That's not necessary anymore. However, there might be a reason why you might need to use a legacy format for somebody who is not up to where you are. Remember, legacy is mostly about fonts and how it handles fonts. You might actually have a severe shift in how the font looks in an earlier version. So my suggestion would be if you've got to save it, you got to save it. Check it out, though, before you send it. We'll leave that at CS5. Next one down is subset fonts. That font option specifies whether to embed the entire font as opposed to just the characters used in the document. And it's based on how many of the font's characters are used in the document. Embedding fonts will definitely increase your file size. Some fonts have over 1,000 characters, and you're embedding all of those and you're only using 10 of the 1,000. This option says embed when characters less than 100%. If you do want to embed the entire font, change that to 0. Next one down, create PDF compatible file. When you're working in Adobe Illustrator, it's saving files in what it's called a PGF format. It can also save it in a PDF format. If you choose that option, Illustrator creates an accompanying PDF file and links them together. To you, it's just one file. But if you do that, even though you have a bigger file size, Illustrator documents become much more compatible with other programs. You will notice that that option is on by default. You can turn that off. It makes your images less compatible. Up to you. Include link files. We don't have any linked files. However, this particular option only refers to the PGF portion of the file. Illustrator is going to automatically embed link files if you choose the Create PDF Compatible File option, regardless of the status of those link files. So if you really don't want any of that to happen, what you can do is turn off Create PDF Compatible File. Don't turn on linked files if you have them and you've got a very small file. Of course, then you will have to move the linked image files along with the document. Embed ICC profiles. Those are color profiles. Illustrator is a very good program in moving color information now. Didn't used to be, but it is. If you turn this option on, it's not really going to make the file that much bigger, but it causes Illustrator to use the International Color Consortium color profiles to help match colors between applications. Compression basically will make the file smaller, but it won't hurt the file. If we had multiple artboards, CS5 only obviously, you can actually say save each artboard to a separate file, or certain ones within a range. Transparency, if you have any. Preserving paths discards transparency. If you want to, you can preserve the actual appearance and overprint, and then of course your presets on resolution, if you need to worry about that one. It changes the resolution of any presets in the document. The transparency options, if you have anything with transparency in it, determines what happens to transparent objects when you choose a version of Illustrator format earlier than version 9. Select Preserve Paths to discard transparency effects, and that resets the transparent artwork to 100% opacity and normal blending modes. Select Preserve Appearance and Overprints to preserve overprints that don't interact with transparent objects. Overprints that interact with transparent objects are flattened. But you only have to worry about that if you're working with a version of Illustrator before version 9. One other thing on compression. If you use compression, it greatly increases on complex files the time it takes to save it. because it has to compress it as it's saving it. So if you are experiencing really long wait times while you save it occasionally, you might want to turn that off and maybe turn it back on for the final save.